Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out Telcoin's price chart and see what is happening in the short term in this area. And notice that we are on 15-minute time frame. And may I suggest, if you are looking for some Telcoin price prediction, just watch maybe the first couple of minutes of today's update, because the main point of today's video is actually educational, not necessarily price prediction. So let's get into it and see what is going on. And if you remember the last time that we talked about TL, we were, I think, right in here, and the idea was that there's like a very high chance we are having 5 up into 1 correction for wave 2, maybe an ABC zigzag, followed by a great move on the upside into wave 3. This can be a correction for 4, and then we can expect at least yet another move on the upside into wave 5 in order to take the highs in here for the first target about 0.6 of a cent. But we said, yeah, you know what, most probably we are going to go quite a bit higher than that. And what do you know, we immediately got a move on the upside, and we barely so far took the highs. Now, here's the first important message. I do think that one way or the other, this is still a bit of a bullish setup, suggesting our move up in Telcoin is actually going to continue. But I don't really care about that move up necessarily. No, what I do care about is this. What is happening in this area, specifically in terms of Elliot waves, and am I allowed to say maybe this is a correction for 4, and the current move up that we are having might very well be the last one into our wave 5? The answer, yes, I think we are allowed to say that, but I think that may not necessarily be our primary scenario. First things first, let's just hide everything and zoom in a bit more. Maybe stretch the scales a little bit. Okay, so question number 1. Between these lows, which one is the lowest low? As you can see, by like a very small margin, it's actually this one right in here. Now, 2 minutes ago, I told you maybe this is a correction in form of an ABC zigzag with a truncated C wave on the downside. So, in the interest of being objective, I think we should also consider other possibilities, and that is actually where the story gets quite interesting, because you can technically argue this is a correction for our wave 2 to about this point. Excuse me, what just happened? Okay, and then we are having in this region maybe 1, 2, 3 correction for 4, another move up into wave 5. Am I allowed to say to about probably this high? I think I am, and this yellow 5 wave is going to be into this wave 3, and maybe now we are having a corrective movement for 4. And what's next? You know what? Another great move on the upside into our wave 5. So as you can see, this scenario suggests one way or the other. Either we are in a correction, or maybe our correction is over, and again, one way or the other, our move up in TL is going to continue. Can we have other possibilities? The answer is yes, and here is actually another one. You can still say that this point is the end of our wave 2, and this is, in my view, very well the end of our wave 3. But now we are going to argue from the highs to about the recent price action. Actually, we are having a consolidation pattern. And since we are, at least according to this scenario, having a corrective movement for our wave 4, well, let me ask you this. What is one very common pattern happening into wave 4? I think you know it if you are a regular viewer of the channel. It is called an A, B, C, D, E. Generally a triangular structure, and in terms of Elliot waves for our sub waves, basically we are going to have ABCs for every single wave. There we go. ABC down into wave C, ABC up into D, and this is our final ABC on the downside into our E. Now, let's go on the live chart. Oh, actually, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. Sometimes we can have an ABC down into A, but in the next leg up into wave B, we are actually allowed to, by like a very small margin, take this high and then continue our wave C, D, and E pattern, and then we get another move up. And in Telcoin, if you want to argue we are having a triangle, I think you should probably argue that we are having something like this. Now let's go in this area and see what is happening, and I think I'm able to argue that this is probably from this point 5 down into A, correction for wave B, and another move on the downside into our C leg. Actually, you know what? The end of our wave A is going to be right in here, and this can be some sort of maybe a running flat, or maybe no, let's actually argue a running flat into our wave B. This move up can be maybe like a 1 2 3 4 5 into A, correction for wave B, another move into C. This can be ABC on the downside, something like this. This can be ABC up, like a very sharp correction, maybe something like this. And this can be like yet another A, B, C on the downside into our final leg, which in it we are not really going to take this important low down here in TL about 0.58 of a cent. And if we take it, okay, at that point, I think we have to argue maybe we are having this thing. You see, this can very well still, even according to discount, be into an A leg correction for wave B, and this is going to be like an A, B, C down into C, A, B, C up into D, another move down into our E leg. And then again, as you can see, conclusion is the same. We are going to have yet another move on the upside in TL. Now, I think so far you pretty much got the message, right? In Telcoin, everything do suggest that we're going to continue our move on the upside, and that is going to remain my base case as long as I'm not proven otherwise. But here's a question: when can we get some good moves on the upside? And that brings me to the concept of an alt season. You see, whenever you are having an alt season, essentially in Bitcoin, you are actually at the beginning are seeing a move on the downside, and in your altcoins, you are also seeing a move down. But then when Bitcoin starts to go up just a little bit, in your altcoins that is going to start a magnificent bull run, you're just going to see an immediate jump in order to take the previous major pivot high. But wait a minute, in Bitcoin, what is happening? We're not really going to go up big time and take the previous major pivot high. Now, from this point moving forward, every single time that Bitcoin starts consolidating, in your altcoins, you're just seeing a very small consolidation pattern followed by another move up, consolidation, another move on the upside. In other words, in like very short time, every single time that you are seeing either a small move on the upside in BTC or generally some sort of choppy price action, let's just say this, anytime that you are not seeing a strong moves on the downside in BTC, those times are actually where your altcoins are allowed to go up quite a bit. And in Telcoin, I think we are having pretty much the same story. Let's just overlay Bitcoin's chart in here and see what do we have. Okay, maybe it's best to just move this one to a new pane above, and let's also delete volume. There we go. So let's put the scales on logarithmic. There we go. Okay, what do you have in Bitcoin in this period? As you can see, from here to about maybe, yes, this area in BTC, we were just seeing a consolidation pattern. Instead, in Telcoin, we were having a move on the upside. Now, when in Bitcoin, we got a move down, we also got a move down in Telcoin, correction up, another strong move down, but just a bit of consolidation, maybe like a very small move down in TL. And right now in BTC, notice that we are getting a little bit of a move on the upside. And here's a very important point. You see, Bitcoin on the downside is actually, in my view at the moment, quite overextended. Meaning what? We are actually due even for like some sort of a dead cat bounce. But again, nonetheless, we are due one way or the other for a bounce. Meaning what? Yep. In this period of time that Bitcoin is going to recover just a little bit, I think it is going to be time for Telcoin to just continue its bull run in a beautiful way. So as you can see, even according to what we just said, once more, the conclusion is the same, meaning what? Yep, our move up hopefully is going to continue. And again, I really care about what is going to happen in this area. If we start like a great 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here, and then we have some sort of a consolidation pattern. But okay, at that point, I think we pretty much have to talk about having some fantastic extension structures. Maybe this is going to be wave 1, correction for 2, and then like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into wave 3, correction for 4, another move up into wave 5, which means our move up is actually going to continue for quite a good period of time. And in Telcoin, we are going to see something very special. For now, I'm telling you, it shouldn't really be your base case. We should stay on the ground and not really get our hopes up way too much unnecessarily. For now, let's just take everything step by step and count on the next move on the upside, and then when we get it, we are going to make new updates and see what is happening. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Telcoin. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.